And we are back, the CPMC podcast, taking a look at the We Are All Idiot League. We've already taken a look at 12 through 7. On this show, we're going to be looking at 6 all the way up to number 1. We've had some great discussions so far. Let's keep it going, Chris. Our number 6 team here, according to you, is the Lord's Cheaps. The Lord's Cheaps here. Kind of similar to what ChatGPT had them at, kind of in the middle here. Looking at a roster of Dak Prescott, Keenan Allen, Deebo Samuel, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, Kyle Pitts, and DeAndre Hopkins. On the bench, we've got Swift, we've got Penny, Gabe Davis, Danny Dimes, Elijah Mitchell, Curtis Samuel, and Devin Singletary. I like this team here, Chris. I think we've taken a step forward.
Yeah, I think it's just a good, solid team all around. I sort of pushed him towards the middle of the pack as opposed to the top of the heap. Because when you look at this team, I mean, I think you're missing that super elite talent, right? I'm trying to figure out who his number one pick was. I mean, I guess Nick Chubb was probably his number two pick, but I think we're just missing elite talent here. But as far as starting lineups go, I mean, it's very solid. I think this team is sort of right in the middle of the pack. I think it's going to be tough to beat week in, week out, but I just am missing that league winner, that week winner guy, and that's sort of pushing him towards the middle of the pack.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Chris. I've got his draft up here. Yeah, Dak in the ninth, I think, is tremendous value. I mean,
Wow.
that's incredible.
Wow. Yeah.
And they like Keenan Allen, round 3, as the worst pick. I actually love that. We rave about Keenan Allen on here. We're reaching for him in Dynasty, even though he's 30 years old. If we were doing redrafts, we'd be picking him around 2, probably. It's how much we love and believe in Keenan Allen. So I think round 3 here is a fine pick. But Chris, looking at, he goes Chubb first round, and then Derrick Henry back there in the second. I think in redraft, this is a tough spot to be picking in that 10, 11, 12 spot is really kind of difficult. It forces you to kind of reach a little bit because you're starting to see the running backs disappear a little bit. The drop off after Chase and Jefferson down to the next tier is tough. But you see all those wide receivers go as well. So you're kind of forced into taking a guy that I don't love. And I was talking to a friend of mine who had pick 10 in a 10-man league. And I'm like, what are you going with at 10? And we just couldn't come to consensus. He ended up going with, I think he went with Chubb at 10 as well. I just don't love it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's probably the toughest spot to pick is that back end of the first round. It dries up so quick of guys, and then the worst part is you're reaching again in the second round, right? So he went with Henry in the second round, and I don't love that either. And I don't blame him really because there's probably no other good options. It just doesn't feel good in that 10, 11, 12 range, whether it's the first round or the second round. But I think he did pretty well to recover here. Keenan Allen in round 3, Deebo in round 4. We've got Kyle Pitts in round 5. I think that's a decent run in rounds 3 through 5. It gives him some upside. It gives him some, stability. It gives him, good quality point output. So I think he did well in the rest of his draft. I think he was just unfortunate with who he was left with, in his first and second rounds.
Chris, I mean, I'll even extend that to say through round 7, grabbing DeAndre Swift in the 7th,
Yeah.
Nook Hopkins in the 6th. I think that's just tremendous upside here on both of those guys. And then Dak Prescott in the 9th. I think he did really, really well waiting on quarterback. DeAndre Swift, I think, is really, really good play there in round 7. Chris, let me read you what ChatGPT has about Keenan Allen. I mean, I'm falling out of love with ChatGPT right now. It's made my real job a lot harder. Decline will come for Allen someday, and perhaps as soon as this season. How dare they?
I mean, come on. Let's get out of here, ChatGPT.
I'm so done with ChatGPT. They're getting
You know who was
scathing
like the
review.
number one wide receiver through the last 4 weeks of the season last year? Keenan Allen, baby.
Unquestionably Keenan Allen.
How's he? He's just going to decline? I mean, that's what happens. Come
Then
on.
the very next sentence in that write-up was something like there were no signs of it in 2022. Then what are we thinking for 2023? Got a better offensive coordinator. Oh man, I cannot wait. If he stays healthy, he's going to be a top 10 wide receiver. Write that down, Chris.
I'm in. I'm in, baby.
All right, let's get to team 5 here. Your number 5 team, Chris. We've got Penn Island, who they actually had them even lower than Lord's Cheaps here, a D plus rating. Let's take a look at the roster first here, Chris, for Penn Island. We're looking at a team of Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, DK Metcalf, Austin Eckler, David Montgomery, Mark Andrews, and Brandon Ayuk. We've got Chris Godwin, JSN on the bench, Jamal Williams, Kadarius Toney for upside, Alec Pierce I like as well, Damian Harris. We'll see what happens with him. I like this team here, Chris. We got like 2 or 3 depth pieces here as well. Yeah, let's point to David Montgomery and say that might be one of the weakest starters we've seen so far. He may end up being okay. But man, Chris Godwin on the bench, JSN, and Jamal Williams, who I think is going to start this year off. You know who Jamal Williams, this just came to me right now. The comp to Jamal Williams for this year, Chris, is what the heck was his last name? I think it was D'Angelo Williams. Remember when he used to just Le'Veon Bell was always hurt, and D'Angelo Williams would come in for the Steelers and just score 40 points every single week he started, and then back to the bench when Bell was fine.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, D'Angelo Williams, if you remember, I mean, he started even when everyone wanted Jonathan Stewart to be a thing on the Panthers.
Yeah. Oh
And there
yeah.
was D'Angelo Williams just scoring points and points and points and points. And I mean, it never stopped. And Jamal Williams, it's a great comp because it's basically the same thing. You know, everyone wanted DeAndre Swift to score 1 billion points last season, and he had a good season, but Jamal Williams was out there scoring, 17 touchdowns or whatever it was. It's crazy. So I mean, it's a guy who just knows how to score fantasy points. I think, even if he's your RB2 there instead of David Montgomery, you push David Montgomery to the bench. And we're gonna figure that out. This team, I like this team. I love the Rodgers Garrett Wilson stack. I think that's huge. I love Eckler this season. I think he's gonna score a ton of points. Mark Andrews at tight end. I mean, people are picking him. If anybody usurps Travis Kelce, it's going to be Mark Andrews. We've got a great bench here. I think that can facilitate him consolidating and upgrading his starting lineup as well with the amount of depth he has. It's the first team I think we've seen that has just really great quality depth to go along with a very solid starting lineup. So I like this team a lot. I think this team's in really, really good shape. Chat GPT couldn't be wronger.
Yeah, they missed it on this one. Chris, more on Jamal Williams. Let's not forget that he was a thorn in the side of Aaron Jones
Yes.
before he was a thorn in the side of DeAndre Swift, man. I feel like he's been around for, like 9 years by now, but you're right, man. He just knows how to score points. I think we're going to see more of that, especially to start this year with Alvin Kamara, suspended for the first few games. But yeah, you said it perfectly with this team, Chris. I love the stack. That was the first thing that popped off to me, was that Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson stack. And again, I think with Godwin in there, somewhere Jamal Williams at least to start. I just don't think this team has any holes. And I think we're just starting to scratch the surface with the upside here with Garrett Wilson, Austin Eckler, Aaron Rodgers. I think you're going to get plenty of points from them. So I think this team is going to be rock solid. And I might even say this is championship ceiling upside for the first time.
I think so. I think so, man. I definitely can see that. I mean, top to bottom, he's really, really good. Like I said, what I loved most about this team was that, we could take 2 pieces and consolidate for one and do a nice 2-for-1 or a 3-for-2 kind of thing and just sort of get that upgrade. I think it's the first team we've seen that really has the capability to do that. So, that's what I like the most about this team. To go along with the upside he does have and the stack he got. So it's just a really solid team all around.
Chris, who do you think he took first?
I would say Garrett Wilson.
He went with Eckler
Okay.
at pick 7 here.
Yeah,
I
I forgot
like that.
about Eckler. You're right. Yep.
Yeah, I think this is a nice little 1-2. I can't figure out if I like Eckler at 7. Again, we're probably splitting hairs if we're calling that a little bit of a reach. But man, I love Garrett Wilson here at the 18th
Yeah.
spot. I mean, we've talked about this a number of times. He could be the wide receiver 1 this year, and I don't think it would shock a whole bunch of people.
No, I agree. I mean, he has that upside. I think, I think Rogers is going to look for him. The guy's ultra talented. He's got everything you ask for in a wide receiver. I mean, he was good with whoever the heck the Jets quarterbacks were last year. I mean, they were a disaster. You throw Rogers in there, who I think, obviously he's lost a step. He's 39, but I think he's still playing, solid ball, and he's going to get the ball to Garrett Wilson. So I like what Penn Island did here all around.
All right, Chris, time for our top 4. And at number 4, we've got Daddy Griff sitting here at number 4. Similar to what Chat GPT thought of this team as well. Let's take a look at the roster. We've got Justin Fields, A.J. Brown, Michael Pittman, Saquon Barkley, Najee Harris, Cole Kmet, and Christian Kirk, guys on the bench. Freiermuth, Dalvin Cook, Tua as the backup quarterback, Alan Lazard, Dulcich, Devin Ashane, and KJ Osborne. Oh boy, Chris, I love the way we started, but boy, I think we kind of petered out a little bit here. Talking about Pittman, Christian Kirk, Cole Kmet. But man, top end here is very, very good. Justin Fields, AJ Brown, and Saquon Barkley are going to score a ton of points. The fact that, you were able to get AJ Brown and Barkley, I think is a real nice get. Najee Harris probably in the 3rd, or Justin Fields in the 3rd. I think he did really well with those first 4 picks.
Yeah, I like this team a lot, Matt. Yeah, Michael Pittman kind of sticks out as, the weak link on this team. Listen, I'm still in on Christian Kirk. I think he's going to be better than Calvin Ridley this year. I know people are all over Calvin Ridley, but I think Kirk is going to be, I think he's going to repeat what he did last year, and he was great last year. 84 catches, 1,108 yards, 8 touchdowns. I think he's going to be right in that range again this year. I mean, in terms of targets and reception. So, I mean, I think he's very, very good. You plug him in as your wide receiver 2, and we figure out the flex spot, whether that's Dalvin Cook, whether that's Alan Lazard, whether it's a Shane or Michael Pittman, whoever it may be. I think we're going to make that work. I love Fields, AJ Brown, Saquon Barkley, Najee Harris. I mean, those are 4 guys here that we can really count on to give us a lot of production. And then we can figure out the last couple spots. Tight end, who cares about tight end? I mean, we'll grab somebody off the waiver wire. Gerald Everett,
Taken.
somebody. Yeah, exactly. I mean, any of these guys, Luke Musgrave. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that one of these guys is going to be the next Evan Ingram, right? And if you can grab them and stash him away and wait until he hits, play the matchups at tight end, whatever happens. I mean, if you don't have Kelsey or Mark Andrews, we're all playing the matchups anyway. So I'm good with Cole Kmet here. I think he might even be okay. I just love the rest of the lineup here. I'm not going to focus on Cole Kmet. So I think this team's in a really good spot. A lot of high upside here. Justin Fields, I think, could be even better than he was last year with the addition of DJ Moore. AJ Brown is obviously incredible. Barkley, I think, is going to go nuts again for the Giants. So this team, I think, I like this team a lot, man. I think another team with championship winning upside.
Chris, you've forgotten who the tight end 1 is in Chicago. Robert Tonyan is number 1 in our hearts here for Chicago Bears. But yeah, I think what you said is perfect. I think, those guys are going to score a ton of points, give you that stability, but they also offer the upside. And can he get a boom week from Pittman? Can he get that boom week from Christian Kirk? Can he push the right button at tight end? I think that's going to be the key. I don't love the depth of this team here, Chris. In fact, it's kind of thin as we get to the back end. So navigating the bye weeks may be a little bit tough for this team. But man, if he can weather the storm, I'm going to go to battle with Justin Fields, AJ Brown, and Saquon Barkley any day of the week.
Absolutely. I mean, the upside is just massive with those guys. You're going to get a ton of touches, a ton of production, a ton of fantasy points from those guys. I'm all over it. If we can make incremental upgrades at wide receiver throughout the season and tight end, that last flex spot basically for Pittman and tight end, The sky's the limit for this team.
All right, let's get to that top three, Chris. And at three, we've got Commissioner Jenks. At number three, we've got Jalen Hurts, Cooper Kupp, Jalen Waddle, Rashad White, Javonte Williams, Dallas Goedert, and Amari Cooper. Guys on the bench, Brandon Cooks, Gibson, Quentin Johnson, Samaje Perine, Rondale Moore. We've taken a big step forward, in my opinion, here, Chris. This is a noticeable upgrade, in my opinion. This team has no holes. It's got major, mega upside here with Hurts, Kupp, Waddle, and I'll say a healthy Javonte Williams. Maybe a little bit in the questionable area with Javonte Williams' health. Rashad White, is he ready to be a true number one? Not an overly deep team, but I like this team quite a bit better than anything we've seen so far.
Yeah, it's a very good team, Matt. I think you're maybe a little rosier on it than I am. Obviously, it's impossible to argue with Hurts, Kupp, Waddle, Cooper, and Goddard. But I am going to argue with the running backs here. Rashad White, I mean, this has the potential to be a bad offense in Tampa Bay with Baker Mayfield there, running things. Javonte Williams coming off the injury, what's it going to be like there? I'm a little worried. Yes, we've got Antonio Gibson and Samaje Perine on the bench. I think that's big for this team and why I've got him so high. If he didn't have those two guys on the bench, guys that could conceivably fill in on any given week, this team would be lower for me, despite the massive upside he has, in those sure things in Hurts, Kupp, Waddle, Goddard, and Cooper. The running backs are an issue, but man, I love the build of this team. I think this is a great build for this league because you're going to get a ton of points out of your quarterback, wide receivers, and if we can make running back work, man, I'm with you. This is a championship level team as well. I love what he's done. I love the build. I love everything about it. We've just got a little bit of question marks. That's what pushed him down, as opposed to being a top two team.
Yeah, I think having Javonte and Samaje Perine is going to be both a gift and a curse at times, right? They're going to be vulturing touches and points from each other, which is going to be the curse. But at the same time, if one of them goes down, I think you've got a guy that's going to be a running back that's going to carry the load and carry it really, really well. So, kudos to be able to get those two guys. And I mean, name the second running back in Tampa right now, Chris.
Yeah, that's the big thing. I don't even know who it is anymore. Is Keshawn Vaughn still there? I mean, what are we talking about?
I don't know. I was hoping you could help us out. I mean, the only one I'm thinking of is the undrafted rookie, Sean Tucker, that's getting a ton of love right now. I loved him in college. I was kind of shocked to see his situation in the draft, but I don't think we'll be shocked to see him getting some touches. But yeah, that's the point here is, we just don't know who that guy is. So it's going to probably be Rashad White, but what does that look like with a bad offense? So listen, Hurts, Kupp, Waddle, Goddard, Cooper, and a healthy Javonte Williams, you are taking that to the bank all day long.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just that there's so many fantasy points between those guys. It's going to be tough to beat on a week in, week out basis.
All right, Chris, we've reached our top two. And at number two, we've got For All the Dogs, which means we've got the Danish at number one. Let's take a look first at For All the Dogs. We've got a lineup. Why are you not doing it for me? There we go. We've got a lineup of, come on, internet. There we go. Joe Burrow, Ty Hill, DJ Moore, Tony Pollard, Travis Etienne, David Njoku, and Mike Williams. On the bench, we've got Juju, we've got Dalton Kincaid, Mostert, we've got Kirk Cousins as well, Rashee Rice out there in KC. Good pick, Chris. I do like this team better than the team that we just saw. I think it's got the same amount of upside and ability, but I think it eliminates a little bit of the question mark. So well done here, Chris. Very good number two team.
Yeah, that was sort of exactly my thought process. I think we've been doing too many podcasts together, too many drafts together, for you to figure that one out. But yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, we've got the upside of Tyreek Hill, Joe Burrow, Tony Pollard, ETN, and we don't have the question marks really that came along with the last team because DJ Moore, I think, is going to be solid in Chicago. I mean, it's hard for him not to be. Mike Williams produces when he's on the field. David Njoku had a very solid season last season. Could see a tick up. We've got Dalton Kincaid as well to back that up. Juju Smith-Schuster very solid as well. I think it's just solid all around. And I love the upside to go with it. I think I'd be kind of scoping out for upgrades in the flex spot if I was this team. That would be sort of my go-to, but that could be Raheem Mostert. Matt. I mean, Raheem Mostert, Miami refuses to bring in anybody. Raheem Mostert could be the guy, and he could be very, very productive when he's healthy. Certainly enough for a flex spot.
Yeah, I can't figure out what Miami's doing, although they are very heavily linked to Jonathan Taylor right now. There was a possible other team who's involved that they're saying, but this has all signs pointing to Miami for Jonathan Taylor if he doesn't stay put. And Indy could be wrong, obviously, but yeah, to your point, if it is Mostert, yeah, definitely deserving of a flex spot. Mike Williams is a guy that I think, again, I just want to see this Charger offense all stay healthy, and I think they could just be lights out. And I think there's more than enough to go around to feed our beloved Keenan Allen as well as Mike Williams. Along with the rookie that they brought in as well. Eckler gets his share of touches. I think there's enough there for everyone to get fed. Tony Pollard, another guy, Chris, that Dallas just really isn't bringing anybody else on board here to take touches from him. And I think you're going to see Pollard get a ton of those touches as well. DJ Moore, all signs are pointing way up for DJ Moore. So this is a really good team here, Chris. I think it's going to score a lot of points, got championship upside, and I just really don't see much of the downside of it either.
Yeah, exactly. Matt, have you been following the Deuce Vaughn hype as the backup behind Tony Pollard?
I can't tell if it's hype or if it's everyone making fun of him. I think it's a combination of both. It just has me confused.
Oh man, I'm all in on Deuce Vaughn. I love Deuce Vaughn. I don't think he's gonna take the bulk of the touches away from Tony Pollard, but man, that dude has like Darren Sproles written all over. He looks so similar. I mean, the build is obviously the same. But the way he moves, right? It's just so similar. He's so fun to watch. I don't think he's ever going to be a legitimate fantasy player or anything, or take anything away from Tony Pollard. But man, as a Cowboys fan, he is fun as heck.
Listen, you said he's a Darren Sproles clone. I mean, he was more than fantasy relevant for a number of years.
That is true. That is true. I don't. I mean, he's never going to be the workhorse. Is what I meant by that. He may have some fantasy relevance. We'll see.
All right, let's do Deuce Vaughn. You heard it here first. Keep an eye on him. Grab measure flyer. All right, Chris, that's going to bring us to our number one team. We've got cream cheese Danish. Would you ever eat cream cheese Danish, Chris?
I have. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I would say the cream cheese Danish is just gross, period.
I agree on Danish. I would say most overrated breakfast treat.
It's up there. I can't think of anything worse right now, and I largely don't like breakfast. But anyway, let's get to the team here. Oh boy, Chris, this is an interesting one here because I know that there was probably some things that gave you some pause before you. I bet you didn't just put this team at number one. I think it probably gave you a little bit of a hard time. But let's take a look at the lineup. Patrick Mahomes, Jamar Chase, Elijah Moore, Jonathan Taylor, Brees Hall, TJ Hawkinson, and Mike Evans. We've got Judy on the bench. We've got Brian Robinson, Traylon Burks, Jameson Williams. Deuce Vaughn. Now we know why we've got the number one team here. Jalen Hyatt worth a mention here too. All right, Chris. So here's my thinking of what your thinking was here, right? Geez, we've got Elijah Moore, who might be among one of the worst starters in the entire league. We've got Brees Hall, who might be sharing more time with Dalvin Cook than we might want. Jonathan Taylor, currently homeless, jobless, I might as well call him. But on the other side, we do have Burks. We do have Jerry Judy. Assuming he's going to be healthy at some point. And then we've got Jameson Williams sitting on the suspension. I bet you're thinking, hey, if this guy can weather the storm to like week 6, week 7, it's going to be wheels up, championship bound.
Yeah, and it might not even be that long, honestly. It might not even be that long. When Judy, if he's healthy and plays, Jameson Williams, I think it's only a 4-game suspension. Matt, before we get into this, what's your gut on Jonathan Taylor? This is like I honestly I struggled here because I didn't know what to make of the Jonathan Taylor situation. Um, you know, we're basically a week out from games, a week and a half. Is he gonna play for the Colts? Is he gonna get traded? I mean, what are we thinking here? This was my conundrum with this team because obviously I love Brees Hall. I love TJ Hawkinson. I love Mike Evans, Jamar Chase, Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't need to be said. But, Jonathan Taylor's sort of the elephant in the room here. And I wasn't sure how to use him in this evaluation. So I used him in the sense that he's going to play week one or within the first, 3 weeks of the season and kind of go from there.
Yeah, Chris, I don't think he plays for the Colts. I think he does play. I don't think he has a large role week one. I think by week two, he's wheels up with a good team in a good situation. I don't think anybody who's in a bad situation spends that type of capital and pays him the type of money that he wants. So I could see him going to a very good offense. I've even heard rumors of Chiefs. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't even know if that's good for Jonathan Taylor. We always say things are great for the Chiefs running backs. Doesn't always pan out. But I will say that he does play. I don't think it'll be for the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, so that was my sort of again. I mean, that was sort of my dilemma with this team. Like Elijah Moore in there, whatever. I mean, we can sub Jerry Judy in there. We can sub Traylon Burks in there. It doesn't matter. It's all kind of the same. Mike Evans is your wide receiver too, and we're working on the flex, right? But listen, I think Brees Hall is slipping in drafts and shouldn't be. I think Dalvin Cook is going to get some touches, but I think Brees Hall is going to be just fine. I think he's going to produce very, very well, especially if he's your RB2. But, if we can, I mean, listen, Mahomes, Jamar Chase, that's fine. I mean, you can't do better than that as your anchor two pieces. TJ Hawkinson's going to score a ton of points. I mean, 86 catches last year, absolutely huge. I like this team a lot. I don't think it's a slam dunk number one. He needs some things to break right, but man, I mean, if the upside even hits, 80% of what it's capable of, I think his team's a runaway title winner.
Yeah, I agree. I'll say this, Chris, and I don't even know if this take is going to be all that hot. I'm more worried about Brees Hall's production than Jonathan Taylor this year.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I really like both. Um, I think I disagree because I'm honestly not worried about Brees Hall's production. I know Dalvin Cook is there. They signed him to a decent contract. Hall coming off the injury. He slipped into like the fifth round in redraft, and I'm all over it, man. If I can get him in the fourth, fifth round, I think that's just a slam dunk in terms of value return there. So I'm in on him. Taylor, man, it's so tough to read, and I just have no read on it. I do agree with you. I think he's going to be productive this season somewhere. Maybe it's not week one, but I don't think it's going to be any later than week three.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, back to Brees Hall a little bit. I just think Aaron Rodgers is going to throw the ball 40, 45 times a game. I think, do they turn around and hand it off more than 20 times? And is Brees Hall going to get three-quarters of those touches? I don't know. I mean, could it be a 12 touch per game type of situation for Brees Hall? I don't think that's out of the question. And he's coming off that injury. I know all signs point to being okay, but he's a guy that I think he's slipping for good reason. Yeah, fourth, fifth round, I think we gobble him up all day. But there's too many things moving around him to make me feel really comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's fair. I think we'll agree to disagree on Brees Hall, but I mean that's fair. I think we've got there's enough cause for concern there. But I just think at the value, I think he's gonna produce points. But listen, look, we know Jamar Chase is going to score a ton of points on this team. We know Patrick Mahomes is going to score a ton of points. TJ Hawkinson is going to score points. Mike Evans is going to score points. Jerry Judy scored a ton of points last year on limited time. So I think this team's in very, very good shape. Just needs a couple things to break right, and I think he's going to be great.
Yeah, looking at the draft board, Chris, he goes Chase 3, Taylor at the end of the 2, Mahomes 3. That's a really, really good start. I'd love to say I wish Jonathan Taylor had a better situation. So to be able to get those 3 guys would be nuts. But I think if Jonathan Taylor was a lock to be running in Indy, they'd be, you're not getting him at the
No.
22nd overall pick. But man, this is a great start to the draft. And there's your boy Brees at 4. Hawkinson at 5, I guess I can live with right there. I think he's going to be good. So yeah, I think, really good draft. Chat GPT got this right. You got this thing right. I think this team is going to be in really good shape. All right, Chris, let me give you the rankings one last time as you had them. Number 1 was cream cheese. 2 was for all the dogs. 3 was the commish. 4, Daddy Griff. 5 is Penn Island. 6, the Lord's Cheaps. 7, Train. 8 is High Gator. 9, Bird Brains. 10 is Flirt Squad. 11, the Ghost of Sal. And 12 is Rib. So there you have it. The CPMC rankings, far better than anything Chat GPT can throw at us. Please remember to like and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and good luck to everybody.